Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry we had a little bit of trouble to start this session. Kazakhstan's nuclear legacy and the TPNW, a path to a nuclear-free future, is going to start. First of all, this workshop is organized by us. This is going to be before Kazakhstan is going to be the president of the third MSPs to the TPNW to be held in March this year. So I am from Kakuwaka, Hiroshima, based in Hiroshima. And we are trying to spread the discussion and word from here. And unless we do that, we won't be able to abolish the nuclear weapons. So we have created this last August. And since then, Ms. KOYAMA, who's going to lead the panel discussion, he went to research in Kazakhstan and went around. So that kind of activity is being held. So that's how we've been collaborating together. So that's flow of today. So we had we're going to have the Professor KAWANO Noriyuki, director of the Hiroshima University Peace Center, who has conducted research in Kazakhstan for many years, and speak about the damage inflicted on the residents living near the nuclear test site. And we are going to have two people who launched the organization recently, and of course, journalist KOYAMA. And how we can discuss about how we can prevent such damage from the nuclear weapons. So can we start?
Is the mic working? Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I am KAWANO from Hiroshima University. I haven't left Hiroshima much recently. It takes a long time for me to get to Tokyo, so I'm joining online. Professor Hirabayashi, who I worked with at Kyoto, they told me that I should come to Tokyo at least for this session and maybe introduce what I've learned about Kazakhstan over the years. So I've been quite busy this year. One being that it's been 80 years since the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yesterday, I actually had to talk about Hiroshima with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but today I will be speaking about nuclear testing and the damage caused, how we'd like to shape a better future. So I only have 30 minutes to speak, but I will be as succinct as possible. So Professor Hirabayashi made these slides for me, so thank you very much. Let us begin. Let me talk about Kazakhstan. I actually started studying nuclear testing 30 years ago. I started talking about nuclear testing, atomic bombs, but first I need to introduce the Semey region of Kazakhstan. There are many people who had had experienced damage through nuclear testing.
随分やり始めていたわけですが、本格的にやり始めようと。そこに参加したというところが、出発で原爆の問題と、カザフの問題を同時並行。
So I want to talk about the issues of nuclear testing and also what damage the atomic bomb caused
こう
together.
いった機会にですね、改めて僕が久しぶりだって言ったのは、思い出しと言ってもですね、
It's been a while since I actually gave a presentation in front of others.
また改めて考え直して今日に至ったということでございます。
So I hope I'm not too rusty and I can talk more and give more background information about Kazakhstan. I have heard that most of you are familiar with Kazakhstan, but as you can see, it is a huge country. In the northeast region, there is Semei, formerly known as Semipalatinsk. We talked about reparations and what the government can provide. But I want to talk about Semei. Like I said before, it was called Semipalatinsk until 2007. And this is a photo taken from a plane. It has a semi-arid climate. Can you make the screen a little brighter, please? I don't like speaking when it's too dark. So back then, Kazakhstan was part of the Soviet Union. And one of them was, and this area was subject to about 500 nuclear tests. And here, as you can see on screen, Semei was subject to the majority of these tests. So if we do a rough estimate, they've done about 456 nuclear tests. At least they have been confirmed. Sorry for the noise. Oh, I see people taking notes. Very impressive. Good for you. So back to Semipalatinsk. There was a test site there, and 456 tests were conducted. So there were different kinds of tests, for example, ground nuclear tests, atmospheric nuclear tests, underground nuclear tests, and in total, it's been said that 456 tests were conducted in total. There have been many numbers and reports, but what has been officially recorded is the number 456. There have been numbers, 500,000, excuse me, about 4 million. There have been, excuse me, 1.2 million confirmed victims. I know it says confirmation. Some people call this a checkbook of some sorts. So we also call this a booklet, environmental pollution booklet. And inside the booklet, there's information about how long someone lived, where they lived.
で、これが最初の核実験ですね。
And this is a picture of the
これが
first
最初の
nuclear
核実験は
test
22キロ
that was
でご
conducted.
ざいますから、広島の16キロトンに比べても
It's
大き
been
いという
said
ことにな
that
ります。
it had
で、
a force of
私たちが
22
ですね、
kilotons.
私が最初にカザフに入ったのは多分2000年だったと思うんです
So
が、
I first went to
23
Kazakhstan in
年
about
ぐらいですね。まあその
2000.
前、何回も少し言ってました。本格的な調査を始めたのは2000、年ぐらいだったと思います。
Maybe I
で、
started
私たちはで
research
す
in
ね、
about
最初に、
2000.
注目したのは、ちょっとこの上が切れてるところ、こっちは切れ
So
てるん
it's
です
a
ね。
bit cut off the
低
screen,
線量とか中
sorry.
線量とか、これ消えるんですか？
But we, okay, can you
低線
get
量
rid
と
of
中線
this?
量というふう
I'd
に
like to
私た
talk
ちは考え
about
てます。
low
力っていう
dose
のは
radiation
率とか
exposure.
低線量率とか低線量。
Radiation
率がつく
exposure,
ので、
yes.
まあ、ある一定期間ということになりますが、まあ、
So
その
it's
被爆の種
over
類
a
実態
certain
がよく分
period
かっ
of
ていないと
time,
いうことで、
but some are not
まあ
familiar with the
私たちしっかり調
situation.
査しなきゃいけないというのもですね、
So it was up
広
to
島
me
長
to do
崎はですね、
research.
いわゆる中線量、低線量のデータがないわけです。
There is
で、
no
広島長崎はですね、基本
proof,
的に
no
2キロ
evidence
被爆と
about
考
the
えていました。
exposure numbers in
大
Hiroshima
体
or
医
Nagasaki.
学的にはですよ、2キロを被爆者と考えていたので、
But
それ以上
anyone
のデータを
in
用いないといけない。
within 2
です
kilometers
から
of
入
the
試被爆
epicenter
の
are
国際調査
considered
を
to be
私たち
hibakusha
は知り得
or
ないわけですよ。
atomic
なの
bomb
で、中線
victims.
量、低線量の情報というのはなかなか私たちに
But
蓄積
whether
がなか
there's
ったの
low
で、
rate or
ぜ
high rate
ひ
radiation exposure,
家族を、まあ、あまり言い方良くないですが、家族を通して中線量とか低線量、
we need
率も
to
含めてで
learn
すね、
more
実態を明ら
about
かにした
these
いという
rates,
の
about the
が最
damage
初の、まあ、
inflicted
私たちの
through what
研究
happened
に入った取っかかりで
in
す。
Kazakhstan
で、
and learning more
まあ、
about
記
it.
録雲の中に核分裂によ
So
って生成した放射能が雲によって大気
radioactivity
に飛来
produced
する。
by nuclear
で、
fission
放射線
in
に
the
汚染された
mushroom
塵とか塵
cloud
が
comes
各地に
to
落ちる。
each
で、
region.
私たちはその塵を体外に
And
浴びて体外
then
飛沫。
we,
で、それを
if we're
着火注意
unlucky,
することによって
be
体内飛沫。
contaminated by the dust
こ
and
れ
dirt
は、
around
黒い雨。
through the radiation
皆さん
fall,
ご存知
and
で
that
すね。
will
黒
lead
い雨の
to
問
the
題。
famous
黒い雨の
black
問題と本
rain.
質的には同じです。黒い雨の問題と本質的には同じだと考えてい
And
ただ
this
い
is
て
the
結構です。
same.
まあ、いわゆる
They
ホ
are
ールアウ
all
トと
considered
言っているわけ
radioactive
ですが、その
materials.
ホールアウトと言っているやつで、
We sometimes
雲
call
によって
this
漂った
fallout,
雨、
radioactive fallout.
雨、風、雪によって地面に落ちるとい
And
う
this
報告が
fallout can
多いと思い
come
ます。
in the
あ
shape
るいは
of
福
fission
島
products,
も同じだとい
particles,
うふうに考え
and
ていただ
soil.
いて結構かと思います。で、被爆の状況なんですが、
So
まあ、
this
福
is
島
the
も黒い雨も大
situation.
体これと同じだと考えてい
Similarly
ただい
to
ても
what
差し支えあ
happened
りませ
in
ん。こ
Hiroshima.
の、このですね、まあ、
Look at
これ
this
放射能
chart.
雲が、
You will
放射線
see
物
a
質とか海の
radioactive
雲がですね、
cloud,
風とか、に漂
and
ってい
it will
って、
move
いろ
in
んなところ
various
でですね、まあ、
directions
かなり遠くまで飛んだ
depending
り
on
も
the
するわけです
weather.
が、
It
か
can
なり
go
微妙
quite
な
a
距離
few
を漂っており
distances.
ます。で、それが、雨とか、
And then
雪とかで
through
すね、
clouds,
によっ
rain,
て、
or
下に落ち
snow,
ると、放射性
any
放射物が落ちる
accumulation,
という、まあ、状況で私たち
this
は、
nuclear
海外、そ
fallout
して体内で被爆をするということになります。
gets
で、
into
それ
people's
がですね、地面
bodies.
に落ちて、まあ、水の中に含まれたら、それ
And
が、
then this fallout
まあ、人がで
goes
す
into
ね、
the
それを飲ん
water,
だりですね、あるい
and
は
people
魚
drink
が、
it. It goes into
魚を
lakes,
通して私たち
various
の口に
bodies
入
of
ってです
water,
ね、土壌
people's
に、まあ、
food,
蓄積したものっ
fish,
ていうのは、牛とかが、まあ、草を
and
通し
then
て、
other
乳と
animals
して、
like
牛乳と
cows
して
and
私た
pigs
ちの口に入る。
eat
まあ、
the
そういったサイクル
grass,
ですね。
drink the water,
で、私たち
and
は体内
people
にする
consume
可能性がある
this
という
food.
ことですね。で、まあ、基本的な原発も同じような、まあ、
So when
状
we
況だ
talk
というふうに考
about
えていただいても結構かと思います。
nuclear
で、今期の大はですね、
reactors,
456回も行われてい
it's
るん
quite
ですが、
similar.
人体にです
So
ね、
back
非
to
常
the
に大きな影響を与えた核
456
実験というのは、まあ、3
nuclear
回か4回だと
tests.
いうふうに考えられています。これ
It's been
は、
said that the majority of
真
the
上から
damage was
ガ
done
ザ
by
向きに
3 or 4
こ
tests.
ういうまあ流れをしたもの。最初の22キロトンはこうい
So
う
the
流れを
first
したものです
22
ね。
kiloton
で、まあ、その次に大きかった
was
というの
conducted
が
in this
この11
area
50
indicated on this map.
というような雲の流れによってフォールアウトが起こっているということですね。まあ、いろいろ
And
言
the
われているわ
people
けで
who
すが、
live in areas
まあ、ストロンチウムは遠くまで飛ばないとかです
that
ね、
are in
私たちは思っ
bold
ていたわけですが、案外飛んでいたりで
had
すね。これは、
experienced the most
福島
damage.
でもそういった実態が若干見られる。
We've
な
seen
ので、
similar
私たちはよ
results
く分
in
かってない
actually
ことがたくさんある
Fukushima
わけですね。科学に関して
due
はですね。
to
で、
the
まあ、い
accident
ずれに
at
せ
the nuclear
よ、まあ、
reactor.
こういった風向きで、まあ、放射性効果物が落ちている。 いったと。
That being said,
これはネイチャー
all the
に
local people were exposed to radiation.
で、 大きな核実験をするわけで、その後、大きなくぼみができます。その後
So
は、
because of this,
水を溜めてですね、
a lake
その
was
後
formed as a result
まあ
from this
放
nuclear
牧した
testing.
放牧したっていうのかな、羊とかがですね、水を飲みに来たりですね、これ飲料水に使ってたというような話も聞いたことがありますので、
Sheep
この
and
中
other
にどういう
cattle
こと
would
かは
come
言えませんが、
drink
こういった
water from
原
this
子炉といっ
lake.
たものがあります。で、私たちが、先ほど冒頭述べ
Like I
た
said
ですね、
before,
なぜですね、この研究を始めたかというのは、 広
the
島
reason
長崎
why
原
I
発事
started
故がですね、
research on the subject
センパラチンスクの核実験による核被害ってどういったものがあるのかということを、貪欲に調べたいと。それをまた日
I
本
wanted to
でも
first focus
し、
on the
日本の研
damage,
究
on
を
the research
活
that
性
was
化したいと
already
いう
done
思いで
on
始
the
めまし
nuclear
た。
damage in
で、
Semipalatinsk.
1994年に
And
です
in
ね、まず広島
1994,
大学と金沢
the
大学
first
が調査に
survey from
入ること
abroad
になり
was
ました。
done,
で、外部内部
radiation
被爆
dose
線量を
surveys
測
by
定
Hiroshima
で、
University.
外部と内部の被爆線量を測る、いう作業を
And
なぜし
there
た
was
の
an
かという
estimation of both
ロ
external
シア
and
側の
internal
見解
radiation
とカザフ
doses.
側の見解、いわゆる、占領側
So
と
there were different
全く違い
estimates
ます。
based on
どっちが
outside of
正しいか、あるい
Kazakhstan
は
versus
実態は
inside
何なのかということ
Kazakhstan.
で、レンガ、あるいは土壌を採取してですね、占領評価をしました。それ以外に、甲状腺異常の可能性、あるいは遺伝子レベルでの研究等々が、
Researchers reported the possibility of thyroid
まさに
abnormalities,
広島で私た
um,
ちの
genetic
共同研究
testing.
者と、明らかにしたことの一つですが、AML1 という遺伝子変異、これは、骨髄異形成症候群という、白血病に非常に類似した、血液の疾患なんです
There
が、
was an abnormality
そういった症
found
状
that
が
was said to lead to
その
leukemia.
被災地と非被災地の間には有意差が見られると、可能性がある。
And then, of course, it was
研究
pointed
したり
out
していました。
that the occurrence of
で、こ
mutations
れも
was
科
higher
学被爆者に得
than
られる、
in the areas that were
増
not
加が見られ
affected,
る疾患の一
that
覧
were
なんですが、
affected
こういった症状
over
があるの
areas
か
that
な
were
い
not
のかという
affected.
ようなことを私たちは常に考えていたわけですね。
Now we look at this
で、
list
こ
of
こもちょっ
certain
と広島長
diseases.
崎の話なので、少し割愛するんで
As
す
we
が、
had seen
こうい
in
ったデータがあるが
Hiroshima,
ゆえに、
Nagasaki,
一概
because
に
we
それほ
have
ど気に
such
せず、
data,
されなくても結構なんですが、例えば
we
広
don't
島
have
で言え
to
ば
worry too much in details.
爆心地から
But if
1.2 キロぐらいの方々
there
がこれ
was,
ぐらいの被爆をすると、
they usually
がん
got
に、
had
がんで
radiation
亡くなって
within
しまう相対
1.2
リスクが、
kilometers from
4.92
epicenter
倍になると。
and
といっ
of
たようなこと
about
を示しています。
4.92
で、じ
times
ゃあ、
more
終戦と
chance
停
to
戦で
die
特
by
にリストに
cancer.
ついた場合、長期にそれを被爆
And
はどう
also,
なるんだという
if
こ
they
と
were
が、
exposed to radiation for
どういっ
longer,
た影
what
響があ
is
っ
going
て、
to
で、最
be
後は、研
and what
究
kind
の
of
最後とい
effect
うのは
it's
や
going
や
to
はり私
be?
たちは、
So our
その被
end
災
of
者
the
が来る当初
research,
に何らかし
we
ら来る
have
もの
to
がなければ
see
緊
the
急ではないというのは前提
welfare
にいる、時からずっと
for
話を
the
していましたので、 私
Hibakshas.
たちの知見
And that's
を
how
家
we are
族に
doing
利用し
the
て、やはり、
research by
治療、
using our
そういったもの
knowledge
に、
and
何
research
か
to the
私たちが貢献
Kazakhstan.
できないのかというよう
And
なこ
how
とを
we
考
can
えています。
contribute is what something
で、
we've
これ
been
もちょっと
thinking
飛ばしましょ
about.
う。で、
So let's skip
私たち
to a
が、
few
まずやったこ
slides.
と、まず占領評価をしました。
So
で、
we
2つ目、
first checked
レンガ、
the
そしてレンガの採取、
the
レンガの特定
radiation
をやりま
and
した。
also
で、
the
土壌。
brick
土壌はで
and
すね、
also
10
the
センチぐらいあり
soil.
ます。
About
土
we
壌を
digged
10セ
about
ンチぐら
10
い掘れば、大
centimeters.
方、占領評価ができると、
And then
い
if we
うこ
dig
と
about
で、
10centimeter deep,
クロ
we
ーズアップ
could
現代を
check
ご覧
the
になられた方がいます
level of radiation in
クローズア
soil.
ップ現代。
Have you seen
ま
a
だ見られてないです
program
ね。これ
called
だから
Close Up
残念ですね。私が出てない
Gendai in NHK?
クローズアップ現代にですね、
I don't know if you have watched
今
the
でもですね、やは
program.
り5センチぐらいのところに蓄積してるわけです。まだ
We
それ
actually
ぐらい
still
です
have
ね。
the
なので、
radiation
5
within
セ
like
ン
a
チぐら
5
いのところ、10
centimeter
センチぐらい掘
deep
りましたが、
in the
そういったところ
soil,
の土壌
for
を採取し
example.
て、占領評価をしたと。
So
で、
we
今
are
度は私たちが
collecting the
今
soil
取り組
from
み始
5
めたのは、アン
centimeter
ケート
deep
調査、疫学
and
調
to
査を
check.
通ってですね、
And by
核実
doing
験の
that,
実態、核実
we're
験、
trying to
どういった
see
も
the
のがあったの
actual
か、で
situation,
健康
what
被害、心
actually
的な影
happened,
響、
what kind of
そう
effects
いったも
on
のを
the
知るということで、
medical
こういったアンケート
medical
調査
effect
を始めました。
has
疫
done.
学調査を始め
We've
たという
been
ことであります。
trying
でこれに
to
関しては、
do the
だんと話を、
research.
こんなに時間ありませんので、
We don't have
広瀬
much
先生
time,
何時まで話せばい
so
いんですかね。何時まで時間なんですか。
let me check my time.
25分。あと15分。
So I have 15 more
25
minutes.
分に割れってことですね。
So
あ、15分ですね。じゃあ急ぎましょう。
I only have
で、
15 minutes, so I'm going to run
これまで
through.
現在も進行形でやってるんですが、
So I'm doing this.
3500人ぐらいを対象
I
に
have about
調査しています。
3,500 people.
で、
I'm
そ
having this survey with. So a question is from the ministry, and with Hidankyo, I'm referring to the survey they had by the Ministry of Health and also the Hidankyo. And these are the village I had the survey, because you can see semi-Palantisk or semi, where the testing sites on the left side, and you can see the dots. Oh, I guess you can't see the dots on this map, but you can see the villages. But the names you can see about the village are we have 65 villages. So amongst those, I'd like to introduce some of the places to show how we are collecting this survey. Okay, let me jump into the what I've been collected. What I've collected. Sorry, I have to run through health conditions, current health condition. So 30.4% of people don't feel well. So this is from 2002 to 2011. So this is the research result for 10 years. So 30.4% of people didn't feel well or not very good. And these are the diseases they've been treating. They have all the digestion, all kinds. And also, if they think that those diseases are a result of the nuclear testing. And for this question, many people think so. 66.7% of people think so that their diseases are a result of nuclear testing. The problem is that we haven't been able to approach to the end is because we're not sure the level of radiation, the low, medium, or high. So I have to talk about the marrow related matters, bone marrow related matters, or in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, also we don't have the clear idea of the full picture of radiation level. So we may have to be able to observe in a long span to be able to understand this. However, the important point is here is that we have all kinds of diseases, and we do consider these are the result of the nuclear testing. That is a specific feature. And also acute radiation symptoms like headache or fatigue and so on are coming from that as well. Also the mental disorder, there are all kinds as well. But let me just introduce some of the results of this survey according to our research. So the experience related to the nuclear testing or the health conditions and also mental state. And also health damage and radiation exposure. Also, I have some summary of the survey, how we analyze the survey. Also, we consider the direct experience of the nuclear testing in details. Because there are some people who actually felt that they did experience the flash and blast quite frequently. And up until 1960s, they had a nuclear testing in the air for about 110 times. So there are many people actually experienced it. About more than 80% of people say so. So that is different from Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
For example, there was forced migration and evacuation outdoors. And then, so I would like to reiterate that there were some similarities and differences.
で、このあたりを少し飛ばしてですね。
Let me just skip a few
核
things.
実験体験ありというのが8割ぐらいいらっしゃいます。
So we
これ
surveyed
非常に高い数字だというふ
everybody,
うに思います。
and out
で、
there
具
were
体的にはですね、
80%
光と
who
か、
experienced nuclear testing.
熱
Some
核風を感
about
じた。
50% saw
広島でもですね
blast.
いわゆる、あと10分ぐらいですね。はい
Okay, I have 10 minutes
え
apparently.
爆風のですね、先端の部分は11キロ先まで飛んだということですから、
It's been said that the
エネルギー
blast was
量
felt
の
by
総
about
量
11
というのは基本的には
kilometers
爆風
away from the
は
epicenter,
比例しますので、かなり遠くまで
and that
飛んで
these
いる。
numbers of people who
た
saw
だ熱
flash
線
and
は
who
距離の
felt
2乗に
heat
反比例しま
and
す
who
ので、
felt the
急激に減っていく
blast,
ということになりますが、その
they
結
all
果が顕
form
著に
a
出ている
ratio.
ということです。感じたというのが非常に少ないのはやっぱり距離との相関というふうに思います。で、これはもう結論だけ言います。
Now I'm just going to go straight to the
私たちが考え
conclusion.
たのは、線量の話だけちょっとしますね。
So I want to talk
じゃあ
about
どのぐらい
radiation
の人たち
levels
が
just
線
a
量
little bit.
評価、線量を被爆したのかという話なんですが、先ほど言ったですね、
So
私
this
た
is
ちが
what I
最初こ
touched
の研
upon
究に入った
earlier.
のは、広島、長崎、
Compared to
とどう
Hiroshima
違
and
うのか、あるいは
Nagasaki,
どういっ
it's
た共
different.
通点が見られるのか
And
というこ
what
とを、
what is
研究
different,
の出
what
発
is
点としたわけで
common
すが、
between Kazakhstan
こ
and
の
also
左の方
Hiroshima and
は、
Nagasaki.
ロシア側の研究です。
This is a
1.5
result according
シーベ
to
ルト
the research
グレード
held in
という
Russia.
シーベルト。
So this
で、
is actually
右
seabelt
側はカザフです。
1.5 seabelt.
つまりカザフは非常に高く評価している。
So in
で、ロシア
Kazakhstan,
は
it is
それに比
higher
べて低く
in
評価していると
Kazakhstan.
いう事実です。
However, the
で、
number
さ
is
あ実際どうだ
lower
った
according to
っ
the
ていう
research
ことを我
group
々は調査したわ
from
けです
Russia.
が、ロ
So
シア
we
側に近い
researched
と
why
です
the
ね、
difference, and our research was close
最
to
高1
actually
シーベルト
Russia.
ぐらいだろうというふうに
So
見
it
積も
was
りました。
close to 1
1シーベル
seabelt.
ト。1シーベルトというのは、広島で言えば爆心地から、
So
これも
in
様々見解分か
Hiroshima,
れるんですが、1シーベルトよりちょっと低いとかですね、
it
0.8 シーベルトじゃ
is
ないかと
like
か、様
1
々な議論
or
がありますが、1
0.8
シーベルト、
to
マックス
1.
1シーベルトぐらいだ。ただ、マックス1シーベルトというのは非常に
And
高い数
the
字です。
maximum 1
で、
seabelt is
広
actually
島で言えば
already
爆心地
high.
から
If it's in Hiroshima,
2、3キロ
it's
に相当する
1.2 to 3
という線量
kilometers
が
from the
降った
epicenter.
可能性があるということを私たち
That was
は
the
評価して
possibility
い
of
ま
the
す。
radiation level
で、
in Hiroshima.
これ全然時間ありませんので、
Sorry, I really don't
教
have
科
much
書に
time,
ですね、
so
100
I
何
have
枚
to
も用意
skip
しておいたん
around
で、
because I had about 100 pages of this
もうそ
presentation.
れ絶対無理だと思
So
ったんで
I'm
す。
not sure how much time I was supposed
す
to
いま
use.
せん、もう結論だけ言いますが、
So let me go
で、
into jump into the
い
conclusion.
や、昨日141枚ですね、99枚まで落としたんですよ。99枚は無理じ
So
ゃなくて、
I had 141 pages. I
先
reduced
の
to
話は
99.
日本の
Anyway,
視点からちょっとお話をします。
so
で、
from the point of
核
view
実験の
we
体
have
験
in
に関して
Japan,
は、
so with
地上での
experience
実験
of
は111回している
nuclear
し、
testing, there were
規模も大変
110
大きか
times
った
of
ということ
testing,
で、
and there was a
180から
large
240
level.
の地域の住民の人たち
So
の
about
顕著な被爆体験は
180
見ら
to
れないけれども、
240
そこ
kilometers
までの
from
地域の人たちは何
epicenter
らかの被爆体験がある
probably had
というふう
somewhat
に私たちは
experience
考
of
えています。
exposing to
それは、
radiation.
単純に言ってしまえば回数
Simply, it is
と
the
大きさ
number of
という
times
こと
and
によりま
also
す。
the size of the
そ
test
ういったものが大きな心の負
and
荷
the
とし
explosion.
て、被災者の人たちの心
So
に
based on
大き
that,
く深く、
we have to,
傷として残っていると。
so
そういったも
that
のが
is
健康
actually
不
not
安と、
just
直
a
接関連があるんだというふうに
visible
私たちは
scar
考えています。
for those like
で、
those
今
Hibakusha
後の
or
課題いくつもあ
those
るんですが、
the
心の
bombings,
影響に関してもですね、これ、
those
も
who
う
are
ず
exposed to
ーっと
radiation, but also
た
in
く
your
さんあるんです
mental
が、
state. Sorry, I have
こ
a
こだけ
lot
が
of
結論なんです
those.
が、心的な影響に関してはです
So
ね、これ
mental
私が書
effect,
いた図なんです
like
が、
mental
核実験と
impact.
か放射線の被爆というのがあって、具
You
体
have
的な体験があっ
radiation
て、もう
impact,
一つ
you
が相
have
関
a
連接すると
detailed
いうのが核実験で
experience
す。
physically,
で、左の方は、
and
爆
you have a
核
detailed
爆風、熱
actual
線、あるい
nuclear
は、
testing and also
爆
radiation,
風、熱線、埃
and
とかそういったも
also
の
the
があるんで
blast
すね。
and the
で、
heat.
もう一つ非常に特有なものはですね、避
And
難させない
something
方なんですね。
specific is some
そういっ
people
たシ
had
ンパラ
to
チズム
leave the
特
place
有
and
のセメ
been
ント
displaced
の特
or
有の
evacuate.
核実験体験があるんだと。
So
で、そ
that's
の後の
also
環境として
unique
は、いろんな噂があるわけです
experience
ね。被爆したんじゃ
of
ない
the
かとかです
test
ね。
because they
で、
feel
向
that
こう
they've
の人に
been
話を聞くと
exposed to
で
the
すね、
radiation.
核実験の後にはソ連軍が、ソ
After
連軍がやって
the
きてですね、ロシア軍
this
がやってきて、ウォッカ
testing,
でも飲んどけと言われたと
the
いうような話
the
を聞きまし
Russian
た。
army came and
で、
they
数日間の
advised to
避難
have
だという
Tanaka. And they were just told to be away for a few days. But it lasted for 15 days. And that is also but they also say that that's just a record and it was only for a few days. So we don't know the actual thing happened. So these things also, some people are not sure that they can recognize if they were radiated or not. So that affects them mentally, not just the damage. So that's what I consider. So that's how we can actually explain with this chart.
So now in the remaining 5 minutes, I would like to talk about the rest of my presentation about the TPNW. So, okay, I have to talk about the TPNW in the remaining 5 minutes. Okay, so this is a huge topic concerning Kazakhstan, actually. So we at Hiroshima University talk about peace. We provide surveys about the international community and how they feel. In 2022, in February, the war in Ukraine began. And we talked about peace and how the international community feels. I actually wanted to mention this somewhere else, but I just added it here today. I'm sorry, it's disorganized. But this is a huge topic that I want to address. So this is a chart, a bar graph showing about 1,000 people in Japan and how they feel about the TPNW. So the blue is how the public felt in 2021, the orange in 2022, and the gray in 2023. So I'm sure we will be releasing our paper at some point. But many people react positively to the TPNW in Japan, and the public, the majority of the public feels like Japan should sign or ratify it. About 70% here in this year. And it's not like we survey just people from Hiroshima. Yes, about 400 people from Hiroshima were included, but we included people from all over Japan, including from the north of Hokkaido to the south in Okinawa. So 70 to 80% people are in favor of signing or ratifying. And at least 70% of Japanese citizens also believe that Japan should join the TPNW talks, the meeting of the states parties, as an observer. And things aren't much different over the years. Now let's talk about the nuclear umbrella. People are looking at the second point, positive about being protected by the nuclear umbrella because they are afraid of what China or North Korea may do. And the ongoing consensus is that we should be protected and not that we should leave this umbrella. So in terms of deterrence, about 60% believe that this is something positive. And recently, the percentage of people who react negatively to deterrence has been going down. Okay, I'm going to skip the MPT part and go on to peace. So yes, the Nihon Hidankyo won the Nobel Peace Prize in December of last year. And there have been talks, symposiums, meetings about peace and nuclear abolition. However, there is a bit of frustration here. For example, the ideal would be a world without nuclear weapons, but the reality is that when we think about the US and Japan relations, national security, and being protected under the nuclear umbrella, people believe in deterrence.
それと共存しているのかもしれない。であれば、コンフリクトの方がまだマシだというふうに私は思っていますが、いずれにせよ、
And I do feel like we need to think more about this. I understand the conflict and the frustration that people have. But now, going on to what we can do moving forward, sorry, where are we? Is that we need to follow we need to follow Kazakhstan's lead. We need to be able to sign the TPNW. We know what we have to do. However,
に私たちは何か小さいながらもやはり教育であるとかですね。
we need to think about what we can do in terms of education, in terms of activism, and make sure that we not only attend the NPT review conferences, but also try to take part in the TPNW in some way. This is a very important time for us. Anyway, sorry I went back and forth today. But I really respect how Kazakhstan has stood their ground. Maybe we can hear more about this afterward. I really prioritized being on time. So sorry I was all over the place, but thank you. Thank you for listening. Okay, thank you so much. That was a lot of information. You had a great number of slides, but it was great getting to listen to you. And I really realized that we really don't know much about Kazakhstan. Okay. Now, we will go on to our youth.
So we heard about Kazakhstan. They are working, there are two people who are actually working on site in Kazakhstan. So we are going to have the points of view from Kazakhstan. Thank you very much. So please take on from here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aigerim, and I'm a co-founder of the Kazakh Nuclear Frontline Coalition, also known in Kazakh language as Koalitesa. I'm also, as Dr. KAWANO said, I am from Semey, so we've heard today about it, and I'm a third-generation survivor of the Soviet nuclear testing, and I was born in one of the villages which was on the map of Dr. KAWANO. And yes, so my ally and co-founder Yerdaulet RAKHMATULLA is with me today, and we are honored to be joining remotely. I'm joining from Astana, and Yerdaulet is joining from Budapest. And we're going to discuss our path to nuclear-free future. I would like also to say thank you to the organizers for inviting us to this important forum and this session in particular. Our coalition QNFC represents the voices of those most impacted by Soviet nuclear testing in Kazakhstan. And we hope and we are committed to achieve nuclear justice and a world free of these devastating weapons. So today we'll share our work focusing on civil society and Kazakh government cooperation, highlighting the vital Japanese and Kazakh solidarity and partnership, and strengthening our mission. And we'll also briefly touch who we are, what we have done so far, and what we are doing, and what our priorities are for the near future. I'm going to pass the floor to Yerdaulet now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Aigerim, and thank you to the organizers. Let me briefly introduce our coordination team and accredited delegation to the third MSP. of the TPNW. So besides Aigerim and I, we also have the elder from the nuclear affected community in Semey, Ms. Shakirbanu Mirzakhanova. She's the participant of peaceful demonstrations of Nevada Semey anti-nuclear movement in 80s, and she was also preparing with us to attend the CERT MSP. Unfortunately, after the 2 attempts to receive the US visa, she got denied twice, and that's why she won't be able to join us. However, another nuclear survivor, Indira Weaver, who is also an impactful activist and alpinist, will join us. So far, it's a little bit small team, but we're planning to expand after the conference in March. And basically, the QNFC is the non-governmental and non-profit initiative. As Aigerim said, it unites the leaders from Kazakh nuclear affected communities and civil society as well as their allies. We established this coalition last October, and we focus on intergenerational and transnational solidarity. And there is a track record of ours, our previous projects, including with Japanese colleagues from Peace Boat. As you know, last August, we organized the first Nuclear Survivors Forum in Astana and many other projects. So I just want to also explain the meaning behind our logo. So in the center, it's the mix of peace sign, but also the Shanrah, which is a main backbone part of the Kazakh yurts or Turkic Mongolian nomadic dwelling, which is the representation of peace and family well-being. Ashaq, which is the acronym of the Kazakh naming, also means sublime in the context of dreams or goals. So as our sublime dream, we advocate for the nuclear justice in Kazakhstan and transnationally. So Aigerim, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yerdaulet. So I would like to briefly just discuss a couple of last year's interventions. In 2024, for the International Day Against Nuclear Tests, we hosted a Nuclear Survivors Forum in Astana together with Peace Boat and ICANN. You can see in the picture, this forum provided a platform for testimonies and worked towards a concrete outcome document that you can find on ICANN's website and Peace Boat's website, if I'm not mistaken. And it was also translated into Japanese language as well. We've also, during this time, we've held press conferences featuring nuclear frontline communities and civil society representatives, amplifying their voices. We supported the Kazakh, so the next picture also about Nuclear Survivors Forum and Youth Forum that took place in August. So next slides are, we also supported the Kazakh youth delegation to the second meeting of state parties to TPNW, and ensuring that our voices are heard in international policy discussions. So this is our delegation to TPNW, to the second MSP, to TPNW, and why it's important because it was one of the largest country delegations of young people. It was the first time when actually so many young people from Kazakhstan participated. We don't have the luxury and the privilege to go to the US often or to go to other countries and get visas. And I've been working in this field from 2021, so I know that this was the first time when independently young people could attend the conference. And the last one is that we delivered a statement at the UN high-level meeting on the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons, advocating for a nuclear-free world. And we have done a lot of different things with Yerdaulet since 2021, but we don't really have time to go deep into that at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to pass the floor to Yerdaulet now.
So let's talk about our current interventions that we will conduct in the context of the CERT MSP to the TPNW. So recently, like a couple of weeks ago, we co-facilitated the consultations with our mission to the UN in New York City. we tried to reach out to all Central Asian civil society organizations working on nuclear justice, and we provided our gender-sensitive, generation-sensitive policy recommendations on the International Trust Fund and related issues. Aigerim and I, we were also conducting the needs assessment among nuclear-affected communities, and we're about to submit the working paper that will be accessible in the end of this month. We're organizing the side event to revitalize the Nevada CMA anti-nuclear movement. We are gathering both the participants from the US and Kazakhstan. Aigerim is producing her documentary titled Jara, Radioactive Patriarchy and Women of Kazakhstan. It's gonna be also screened on Wednesday during the Nuclear Ban Week in New York. Together with Japanese and other international colleagues, we're co-conducting the peace awareness survey among youth in nuclear-affected states. 5 countries are covered, including Japan and Kazakhstan. And we're also planning to deliver the statement on behalf of Kazakh nuclear frontline communities. And yeah, we were also conducting a series of upskilling and coordination sessions for our elders and other delegates. Yeah, these are some screenshots from our calls with friends and colleagues. And this is the teaser poster of the documentary. Aigerim, could you tell us about the cooperation with our government?
We have 5 minutes, so I'm going to be very brief. We believe that our collaboration is key with the government, especially related to consultation on International Trust Fund with Kazakhstan and Kiribati. So I recently moderated a roundtable on Kazakh legislation reform, advocating for policies that support nuclear justice. And I also co-facilitated consultations with Central Asian civil society organizations on TPNW Articles 6 and 7, fostering regional cooperation. And I participated in the interagency, interministerial state working group on CMA nuclear test site affairs, sustainable development of our region where I come from. And the next one will be on Kazakh-Japanese solidarity and partnership, which Yerdaulet will present.
Yeah, so the solidarity between Japanese and Kazakh nuclear-affected communities and nations stems from the very early days. So for the first time, the native of Abay region and great famous poet Mukhtar Avyazov, when he attended the conference in Japan in 1957, for the first time, he raised the questions regarding the polygon on the international stage, and we saw a lot of collaborative partnerships. For example, like this monument in Simei City, and also the anti-nuclear anthem, Zamanai, translated into Japanese and other languages. And this year, we believe, in the recent years, we see the reactivization of these partnerships between Japanese civil society and Kazakhstan civil society. And we have a couple of priority points for this year, namely trying to organize a series of events that we mentioned previously, but also to try to engage in the commemorative events in Japan.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as we said, that we will just be very happy to continue our collaborations and to work. We have been doing a lot of work in general, mostly for free, but our commitment to justice is quite high at the moment, and we want to continue our work. And it's impossible to fit everything in 15 minutes, but we tried our best, and there are probably a lot of questions, and we'll be always happy to stay in touch. These are our social media accounts, and you are free to reach out to us. And thank you again, and I hope that we can advance nuclear justice together. So yeah, and we look forward to collaborating with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing. I can't believe there has been so many changes over the past few years. I have so many questions that I want to ask, but perhaps we can make some time in our discussion. So now we're going to get into it.
So we have a TPNW, and also we have three people who presented. If you have any feedbacks or comments on that. So I am Hirabayashi. I'm going to be presenting. I am actually I am the lecturer at the Kyoto University. And I have been, since 2005, I've been like doing on-site research. Please get close to the microphone a little bit, please. Can you hear me okay? So again, we'd like to thank you very much for those of you who have given us presentation. Aigerim, Yerdaulet, and KAWANO, Dr. KAWANO. So we're going to have the Kakuwaka and also the TANAKA or Miho. I'd like you to introduce yourself first, and maybe we can talk about it. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating. I am KOYAMA Misa. I'm going to introduce myself briefly. I was at the Mainichi newspaper, and I left the Mainichi newspaper, and I'm doing the Ibom survivors and doing the Kuroi Ame, which is a black rain related matters. And I have published my book on about this. And because of the damage caused by the black rain, they also have internal radiation. And those are all important. So in Hiroshima, we have been supporting Kazakhstan from Hiroshima. We have the civil organization. So, and also Kakuwaka Hiroshima, we have the co-project launched last September, and I went to Kazakhstan last September to research. So I was able to meet some victims of this nuclear testing there in Kazakhstan then. Just like two of you, there are some people who have been quite active like those two of you here. However, some people don't even know the TPNW. So that they haven't even been aware of thinking about like abolishing nuclear weapons or nuclear testing. So that was my impression. So those of you from Kazakhstan, I like to hear the abolition of nuclear weapons and how much interest they have. And also Dr. Kawano, like maybe how much like civil society is aware of it. And about to the TPNW, what kind of things you're expecting, your expectation. And in Kazakhstan, there will be the chair. So like what will be the expectation as outcome? So three of you working out, doing this, only three of you working together. So how you are able to manage this That's I'm actually interested in. Other people, other youth members working in Kazakhstan, how you collaborate or working with other organizations and also the administration, how you create a connection or a network. If you have something you can share, it will be great for the people's activities. So I like to ask. So thank you very much. So I would like to ask those two of you, Aigerim and Yerdaulet.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that I'll answer a little bit, and the Yerdaulet can continue regarding young people. I think that I agree with what you said about not knowing about TPNW and abolition in general among general public. People don't know what is TPNW. So one of our goals was actually not to even start with general public in my hometown or the region, because there are 4 regions that were impacted by nuclear testing, right? Not only my home region. And to start from ministries, because different Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they know about TPNW because that's their work on foreign policy. But ministries like Healthcare Ministry, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Ecology, they don't know what is TPNW, and that Kazakhstan is negotiating its national trust fund. And I believe that this is a big problem. So for this reason, we have started, I'm a part of this intergovernmental, interministerial working group where we actually talking about, that there is Article 6 and 7, that there are opportunities for, advocacy. So that's what we've been trying to do. With the survey that Yerdaulet and I have been conducting since January, we already have 500 people, respondents of the survey, on needs-based assessment. We wanted to understand what people need from the government on their needs. And we also want to explain in the future what is TPNW and how to have not only conversations about nuclear abolition, but also about peace. And we have been doing that for I've been doing that since 2021 with Yerdaulet, but as part of coalition, we've been doing that since last year. But now, Yerdaulet, if you can talk about young people, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe, as I mentioned during the presentation, we see this kind of new wave of interest and passion for nuclear abolition, disarmament, and non-proliferation since approximately 2021, 2022, I assume. And there are several factors. One of the major ones is probably the release of the atomic step by Dr. Kasenova, and greater interest from certain organizations and new types of support for this cause. A series of events, training programs for young people led to the establishment of certain small group of activists that you saw on the picture, our colleagues, and this group of people is, I think, increasing little by little, and this is one of the also our priorities, to engage more young people, especially from nuclear affected community, because they are living within it for years, but they're not aware who they are fully, or what kind of opportunities they have, and how they can contribute to this cause, and how to resolve these issues collectively and comprehensively. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the last thing that I just want to add is that I think that young people got more interested in also nuclear disarmament since the start of the war in Ukraine. So since the full-scale invasion in Ukraine by Russia. I think that that's one of the points when young people started to critically think about the past crimes committed by the Soviet Union. And the book that was released by Dorjan Kasenova played a really huge role in forming this activism, the new wave activism.
So now I'd like to hear your opinions on the TPNW and Kazakhstan. You talked about how victims helped lead to joining the TPNW. I've been to Kazakhstan and I've met many people who were victims to nuclear testing. And I've talked about my experience, but I will say from 2000, I've visited about 3 times. I've met countless people over the years, but we actually don't talk too much about politics, especially in the local villages. They're more worried about the state compensation, whether that is enough. Usually the compensation is added to their pension, but the system is quite complicated. Sometimes they get more time for maternity or paternity leave. So there are many different types of this compensation. You might be interested in these types, but when I go to the local villages, not many people that I interview are interested in politics. But speaking with young people like you two, I can see that you are very politically active. And I know for a fact that that has helped lead to treaties like the TPNW. And the people of Seme really lead to the people in power. Whereas in Japan, when people of Hiroshima speak out, people in the government of Japan don't really listen. So I will say that you are definitely ahead of us in a political sphere. For example, when it comes to second generation nuclear victims, the government began a series of surveys in Kazakhstan. And when it comes to medical care, even during the Soviet era, medical compensation was provided. And because Seme is incredibly symbolic in terms of nuclear testing and victims, we see this as a lesson to try to emulate on a governmental level. That much is true. And I think it's also great that what happened in Semipalatinsk is being heard all over the world. So if we were to talk about ideals versus reality, here we have to worry about US-Japan relations. And that's why it's incredibly difficult to bring up the topic of the TPNW. But with younger people, I do feel like there is a new wave of younger people, especially in Kazakhstan, being politically active, which is wonderful. Although maybe we don't see that as much in the local villages. I think the older generation could actually try to learn from you young people. Thank you for your comments. Now, we'd like a comment from a guest from overseas. Do you think you could give a comment? Hina-san, you were part of the Global Hibakusha session yesterday, and you are a member of the Polynesian Parliament. But if you could give your thoughts to us.
Thank you very much. I want to say hello to everybody. And also my friend Aigerim, I'm happy to see you. And thank you for this presentation. It was very interesting. I already know about Kazakhstan, but I learned more thanks to your presentation. Thank you very much. And I also want to congratulate Yerdaulet and Aigerim for their outstanding work. And seeing young people take on this fight brings so much hope for the future, thanks to you. Because I have to confess, I'm new into this fight. Like, I think I started 6 or 7 years before, but I feel like I'm into this fight since 20 years. So it's happy to see that there's still you who will continue. So,
ありがとうございました。この場に見られて光栄に思います。カザフスタンのお二人、皆さん、プレゼンテーションありがとうございました。私はこれまで、カザフスタンについてはある程度していましたけれども、今日のプレゼンテーションとお二人のお話を聞きまして、より深く知ることができたと思います。この私のバックグラウンドからも一緒に戦っているように感じていますが、このように若い方の活動を見て希望を感じております。そして一緒に活動しているように、共に戦っているように感じますけれども、私は約6、7年前頃から関わっておりますが、もう20年くらい経っているようにも感じられます。
And I want to say that Kazakhstan and French Polynesia has different history, but we have in common that major powers choose our territory because of colonialism. They choose us to use our territory for their nuclear experimentation. And what we have in common today is the legacy of the nuclear bombs, environmental devastation, and severe health impacts. And we have so much to learn from each other, and we have to work today with solidarity. And I also want to deeply commend the tireless effort of Kazakh activists and their work and their voice in the TPNW. It is really crucial for affected communities to speak for another one and share our experience, highlight the devastating consequences of nuclear weapons on our people still today.
そして私はカザフスタンとプレオポリネシアは状況は違いますけれども、共通のことがあると感じています。それは大国が小さい場所を植民地化して、そして核実験を行ってきたというところです。そこにはとても共通しているものがあります。そして残された負の遺産があるということです。それは環境の破壊であり、市民、人々の健康被害でもあります。そのあたりにおいて私たちは共通している環境を持っていると言います。その中で私たちは連帯をして進めていかなければならないと考えています。カザフスタンの皆様には、お二人、そして皆さんには、今度、核兵器禁止条約の締約国会議で、様々な活動をしていただいたり、声を届けていただきたいというふうに感じています。それによって、核兵器の廃絶に向けて、活動をしていけたらいいというふうに感じております。
And I want to say, the question were very interesting about the fact that maybe people, they don't know about the TPNW, but I think also it's a big lack of information. We are all involved into this fight, so we all know that today there's 12,000 nuclear weapons in the world, thanks to the work of Hans Christensen that can share this number. But if you go in the street and you ask someone, do you know how many nuclear weapons there's in the world? They will be unable to answer. So I'm convinced that the amplification of testimonials from affected communities will help the universalized TPNW. It will make, I think, this fight more human, more accessible to people, so they will understand why we are fighting for the abolition of nuclear weapons. It was my conclusion. Thank you.
はい、そして、今日出た質問の中で、質問と、質疑の中で、大変興味深かったんですけれども、核兵器禁止条約について知らない方が多いということ、これについては、まだ情報が、広く広がっていないということが、あると言います。私たち人類は、この戦いに、みんなで、戦っているわけです。核兵器が、核兵器が1万2000発以上あるというこの状態の中で、それをその情報自体を知らないということが、それをどんどん広げて、その情報を広げていくということが、大事です。で、そのためには、この核兵器の影響を受けた、コミュニティの人々が、声を出して広げていくこと、それによって、世界中に核兵器禁止条約の情報が広がっていくことが大事だと考えています。それにより、人々が、この情報にアクセスできること、そして、なぜ核廃絶が大事なのかということに、考えを寄せることが大事だと思います。これが私の、最後の、締めの挨拶になります。ありがとうございました。本当に素晴らしいコメントありがとうございます。
Thank you so much for your comments.
もう時間が迫っております。
So now we're running out of time.
次がちょっと時間がなくなってしまったんですが、最後に、本日の議論全体を通しての、最後のコメントを登壇者からいただければというふうに思います。
I'd like to hear a few words from our Kazakh youth. I know our title is What We Can Do to Contribute to the TPNW, but I really think that we were able to talk about this in a meaningful way. So if we could have some final comments from Aigerim-san, Yerdaulet-san, if you don't mind, please begin.
I want to say thank you so much for inviting us and organizing the forum and having the session. A lot of work should still be done. And thank you so much, Hinamura, for your comments, and everyone in the room, and all the panelists, and Dr. Kawana as well, and Yerdaulet. But also, I would just like to say that we will continue working on it. There should be many reforms, legal reforms, and I agree with Hinamura when I say that, yes, affected communities should have a voice in decision-making and shape the policies for the future and nuclear justice and a world without nuclear weapons.
I would love to add that as time flies, we see that certain existential crises have more in common. So I believe in 2025, nuclear justice activists, nuclear climate justice activists, and other kind of coalitions and communities should put together their efforts and to combat several existential crises like climate crisis, nuclear weapons, and yeah, we should build new kind of partnerships and collaborations between regions and between generations. Thank you so much for engaging us, and we hope to meet you all in person at the MSP and beyond. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Okay, I think maybe we had a question or... Okay, yeah, we're out of time. Okay. So actually, we have maybe just a tiny bit of time, so maybe time for one more question. I'm not sure if it's in my position to give the last comment, but what I really thought today was the theme of abolishing nuclear weapons. I think in terms of the TPNW, Kazakhstan has already signed and ratified. But as we raise discourse through the TPNW, Japan has not caught up yet. We haven't even been to the meeting of the states parties as an observer. And this is just a personal opinion. But I really think it's a bit tough. We're in a rock and a hard place when it comes to receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in terms of the Nihon Hidangyo. As a professor at Hiroshima University, we think about peace all day and all night. I think it goes without saying that we are a city, we are a prefecture that works to keep the peace. And I know that the Hibakusha have been fighting for the abolition of nuclear weapons. But there are two things we need to keep in mind. One is that through winning the Nobel Peace Prize, we have learned that the world respects the Hibakusha, and they have heard the voices of them. However, the government has not answered their demands. The other thing to keep in mind is that one of the reasons why I don't really like coming to Tokyo as someone from Hiroshima is that we really might become independent at some point. I really think that's fine. That'll be like the last thing we can do. It'll be really the last straw. But honestly, if we don't really, that might be something that we really have to do, even if we try to negotiate about the TPNW. All the government says is that, oh, we're under the nuclear umbrella. That's important. And 98.5 Japanese citizens agree that Japan-US relations are incredibly important. And then they prioritize that when it comes to the TPNW and signing or joining, and they can't really seem to separate or differentiate those two things. So maybe I feel like Hiroshima, along with Nagasaki, maybe in some ways we work a bit too hard. Of course, even within Hiroshima, within Nagasaki, people have differing opinions. But I really think that we are far away from what the Japanese central government feels, and we might become independent. There may come a day where we are forced to consider that. So that might be a bit extreme, but maybe it is important to talk about that kind of topic. And of course, we can't do this alone. We need all your help. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much. To the youth, Yerdaulet, Aigerim-san, thank you for your time. And we need to be a bigger force as a democratic nation. We must do our duty. The only way we can do this is to go vote. We need to make our voices heard in terms of the TPNW in Japan. At a national public university, as a professor at a national public university, I'm legally not allowed to talk about politics. So please, that is something that should be off record. Please ignore what I just said earlier. But yes, it's really great to have this conversation with all of you. Thank you so much. Okay. So thank you for your comments. Thank you, everybody, for your time.